All right, let's get into it. Today we are cracking open one of the biggest mysteries in tech, the AI black box. But you know what? This isn't just about the technology. It's really about uncovering the incredible power you have to shape its future. So let's dive in. So you've got to ask yourself, what is actually going on inside the AI that's all around us? I mean, it's everywhere, from your search results to your music recommendations, and it's just quietly working in the background. So the real questions are, how does it, think? And what exactly is it learning from all of us? And that question brings us right to this idea of the AI black box. Okay, imagine this. You put a question into a box on one side. You get a perfect answer out the other, but you have absolutely no idea what just happened inside that box, what connections it made, what logic it used. That mystery, that opacity, that's the black box, and that's what we're here to unpack today. To do that, we've got a clear roadmap. First, we're going to peek inside that black box. Then, we'll talk about your digital fingerprint and how it's basically the fuel for AI. We'll get into the really serious issue of bias, but then we'll flip it and talk about your power to influence AI. And finally, we'll cover how you can reclaim some privacy and help shape a better future for AI. So let's start unpacking that mystery. The very first thing you need to know is that AI models aren't just born smart. Nope, they are trained. And they're trained on an absolutely staggering amount of data. And most of it, believe it or not, is scraped directly from the public internet. And just look at the kind of stuff that acts as its fuel. We are talking about everything from your product reviews and blog comments to your family photos and all your personal social media posts. The really crucial point here is that your data, our data, is often gathered without anyone giving explicit consent. It just becomes the raw material for these incredibly complex systems. And that leads us right to this concept of your digital fingerprint. See, every single click, every like, every search you make online leaves a tiny trace. And when all those traces are collected, they form this incredibly detailed profile of you, which for an AI is an absolute goldmine. Just think about it for a second. Your social media posts, they're not just updates for your friends and family. To an AI, they're data points that reveal your political views, your favorite brands, who you hang out with, and even your emotional state. And it gets way more personal than that. Your search history is basically an unfiltered window straight into your mind. Your health worries, your career goals, your deepest, most random questions. For an AI, this is just a priceless data set for figuring out how humans think and what we'll do next. You know, even something that seems totally harmless, like writing a product review, adds to this massive picture. When you aggregate thousands and thousands of reviews, you can train an AI to understand cultural trends, what people want, and market sentiment with just stunning accuracy. Okay, so if all of this personal, human data is the fuel, we've got to ask a pretty serious question. What happens when that fuel is kind of toxic? Because if our data reflects society's worst biases, and let's be honest, it does, the AI doesn't just learn those biases. It often makes them even worse. And let's be super clear, these are not just theoretical problems. This stuff causes real-world harm. We are seeing facial recognition systems that are way less accurate for people of color, which can lead to wrongful arrests. We're seeing hiring tools that automatically toss out resumes just because they have names that sound female. This isn't a glitch in the system. It's a direct reflection of the biased data we fed it, and it has life-altering consequences for real people. Now, that all sounds pretty grim, I know, but this is where the story takes a turn. Because you, as the user, have way more influence than you probably realize. Every single time you interact with an AI, you have a chance to guide it. This is what we call the power of the prompt. Just take a look at this really simple example. If you ask an AI for a story about a CEO, chances are you're going to get a story that reflects the most common stereotype in its data, so probably a man. But watch what happens when we get specific. By asking for a CEO who is a woman leading a renewable energy company, you actively push back against the AI's default biases and guide it towards something more inclusive. It's that simple. The key here is just to be intentional. When you're prompting an AI, be explicit. Ask for the diversity and fairness you want to see. Try to avoid reinforcing those old, tired stereotypes. And just take a second to ask yourself, what are the real-world consequences of the thing I'm about to create? Okay, so beyond just prompting, you can also take some very real steps to protect that digital fingerprint we were talking about. Reclaiming your privacy isn't some all-or-nothing game. Small, consistent actions can actually make a huge difference. Here are 3 really actionable things you can do. First, just dive into your settings. Block web trackers, go through your app permissions. Second, start using tools that are actually built for privacy, like privacy-focused browsers or VPNs. And third, stay informed. Understanding regulations like GDPR doesn't just protect you, it helps fuel the public demand for even better laws. So all of this, the data, the bias, the prompting, the privacy, it all builds to one ultimate takeaway. AI isn't just a piece of technology, it's a societal force. And what that means is that every single one of us has a role to play in deciding where it goes next. And your role, our role really, comes down to a mix of 3 critical actions. First, demanding transparency from the companies that are building these tools. Second, just being more mindful of the digital footprint you're leaving behind. And third, using ethical prompting to steer AI in a better direction. You see, each piece of the puzzle is just as vital as the others. So let's end with this thought. The future of AI is not already written by a handful of engineers in Silicon Valley. By understanding how it works, by protecting your data, and by interacting with it mindfully, you actually reclaim your power. The challenge ahead is an ethical one, and in that challenge, your voice truly matters.
If you want to learn more about AI, do check other videos of this channel. Please subscribe so that I can continue making more such videos for you.